When we think about the history of human civilization in the Americas, we imagine a relatively recent story. For over a century, archaeologists and historians told us that humans arrived in North America around 13,000 years ago, crossing a land bridge from Asia during the last ice age. This theory, known as the Clovis First theory, dominated academic thinking for generations. It was the foundation upon which we built our entire understanding of when and how people first came to inhabit the vast continents of North and South America. But in the last few years, this comfortable narrative has been shattered. And Mexico, with its rich archaeological landscape and ancient secrets buried deep within its soil, has become the epicenter of a revolution in understanding human origins. The story begins not with a single discovery, but with a series of extraordinary finds that together paint a radically different picture of our past. These discoveries span from the high desert mountains of central Mexico to the lush tropical jungles of the Yucatan Peninsula, and from the flooded cenotes along the Caribbean coast to ancient city sites hidden beneath dense forest canopy. Each finding, taken individually, would be remarkable, but when you piece them together, they tell a story that forces us to completely reimagine the timeline of human settlement in the Americas. Let's start with one of the most compelling pieces of evidence. In the mountains of central Mexico, at a site known as Chiquihuite Cave, researchers led by archaeologist Cyprian Ardelean from the autonomous University of Zacatecas made a discovery that would spark international debate and controversy within the scientific community. When they first arrived at this cave, perched high in the Astillero Mountains at over 9,000 feet above sea level, they were simply hoping to learn about the ancient environment of the region. They had no idea they were about to uncover evidence that would push back the timeline of human occupation in North America by as much as 15,000 years. The initial breakthrough came in 2012, when a test excavation uncovered some stone artifacts that suggested human presence during the last glacial maximum, a period between 18,000 and 26,000 years ago. This single discovery was intriguing enough to justify a decade-long excavation project. What emerged from that decade of painstaking fieldwork was extraordinary. Researchers uncovered hundreds of stone tools carefully preserved in layers of sediment that dated back nearly 30,000 years. They also discovered bits of charcoal scattered throughout the excavation layers, which radiocarbon dating revealed ranged in age from 12,000 to 32,000 years old. Even more remarkably, researchers detected the presence of human DNA in the sediment layers, though scientists remained cautious about whether this genetic material came from ancient inhabitants or from contamination during the excavation itself. This find was controversial. Critics argued that using aquatic plants to date the site could result in artificially old dates, since these plants absorb ancient carbon from water. Some scientists questioned whether the stone artifacts were truly tools made by humans or simply natural formations. The academic community was divided, but Cyprian Ardelean remained confident in his findings. According to a paper published in the journal Nature, the site known as Chiquihuite Cave may contain evidence of human occupation that places people in North America around 30,000 years ago. If proven conclusively, this would roughly double the currently accepted timeline for when the first humans arrived on the continent. But the evidence for early human habitation in the Americas doesn't stop at Chiquihuite Cave. Another extraordinary discovery was waiting to be confirmed. This time the evidence would be even more difficult to dismiss. In the desert sands of White Sands, New Mexico, archaeologists made a discovery that would provide some of the most compelling physical evidence yet. Human footprints, literally preserved in ancient lakebed sediments. These weren't just any footprints. They were dated to between 21,000 and 23,000 years old, making them roughly 10,000 years older than the previously accepted earliest evidence of human culture in the Americas, which came from a site near Clovis, New Mexico, dated to about 14,000 years ago. When researchers first published these findings in 2021, they were met with significant skepticism. Critics argued that the dating methods used, particularly those relying on ancient seeds and pollen in the soil, were unreliable markers that could produce artificially old dates. The scientific community demanded more evidence. But the researchers didn't back down. Instead, led by archaeologist Vance Holliday from the University of Arizona, they returned to White Sands and conducted a new study using completely different dating methods. Rather than using aquatic plants, they analyzed ancient mud from the lakebeds, where the footprints were preserved. They sent these samples to an independent laboratory for analysis, and the results were striking. The new study confirmed the original findings, showing that the footprints were indeed between 21,000 and 23,000 years old. This independent confirmation, published in Science Advances in July 2026, was a game changer. Vance Holliday, who has spent nearly 50 years studying the peopling of the Americas, summed up the significance perfectly. He said that with multiple dating methods and separate lab confirmations now supporting this timeline, the White Sands, footprints offer compelling evidence that humans came to the Americas far earlier than had been believed. A doctoral student named Jason Windingstad, who worked with Holliday on the most recent fieldwork, described seeing the prints as a profound moment. He said it basically contradicts everything that we've been taught about the peopling of North America. What makes this evidence so powerful is not just the age of the footprints, but what they represent. These are the actual tracks of people who walked across ancient lake beds tens of thousands of years ago. You can see in these impressions the weight and movement of human bodies, the spacing between steps, the size of feet. Some of the tracks belong to children. They represent real people, real families, moving through a landscape that has since transformed completely. The lake beds have dried up, the sediments have hardened, and gypsum dunes have blown across the landscape, but the footprints remain, a tangible connection to our deep human past. While the evidence from white sands pushes back the timeline, other discoveries in Mexico are revealing the sophistication and scale of ancient civilizations in ways that challenge our assumptions about how quickly complex societies could develop. In the dense tropical forests of Mexico's Balamku Biosphere Reserve in Campeche, archaeologists made a discovery that demonstrated the remarkable achievements of Maya civilization and how much we still have to learn about the ancient world. This discovery involved a site known as El Yasal, which had previously been identified through airborne LiDAR surveys, but had never undergone detailed archaeological investigation. The site is massive, covering an area of more than 1 square kilometer, making it one of the largest Maya cities in the central lowlands. The archaeological team, led by Professor Ivan Sprajc from the Research Center of the Slovenian Academy of Sciences and Arts, worked under a project authorized by Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History. When researchers first arrived at the site, they discovered a sprawling city that rivaled some of the most famous Maya centers. At the heart of the city stood a great acropolis, a vast platform covering approximately 150 meters on each side and rising 15 meters above the surrounding landscape. Atop this platform stood 4 pyramidal structures, with the tallest reaching a remarkable 27 meters above the upper surface. The architectural sophistication was evident in every aspect of the construction. The acropolis consisted of 3 layers, a base made from quarried stone, a middle layer of modular blocks, and a top layer of river stones and basalt. Every detail was carefully planned and executed. The excavations within the Great Acropolis and the opposing North Acropolis produced ceramic material, belonging to the Mamam and Chicanel phases, ancient pottery styles that provided crucial dating information. Based on this evidence, researchers concluded that El Yasal was established during the Middle to Late Preclassic period, between approximately 600 BC and AD 200. But the story didn't end there. The city experienced substantial expansion during the Late Classic period, between AD 600 and 900, when new plazas, monumental buildings, and extensive artificial terraces were constructed across the northern sector. Researchers also identified outlying hilltop complexes, featuring embankments and terraces that appear to have served defensive purposes, suggesting that these ancient people understood military strategy and the need to protect their settlements. Among the most significant discoveries at El Yasal was the documentation of a weathered stone stela, or carved stone monument, using high-resolution photogrammetry. Although erosion had obscured much of the surface over the centuries, 3-dimensional modeling revealed surviving details of remarkable artistic skill. The stela depicted a ruler holding a ceremonial staff and wearing a headdress associated with Yopat, the Maya storm deity. Epigraphers suggested that the divine imagery may have formed part of the ruler's name or royal identity, similar to how modern leaders use titles and symbols to express their authority and connection to spiritual or political power. Researchers also identified a series of unusual structures beside the Great Acropolis that they called nested complexes. These low, elongated structures were arranged in concentric, rectangular, or circular layouts, resembling the Chiknab complex at the famous Maya city of Calakmul. Archaeologists believe these spaces may have functioned as marketplaces, providing new insights into the economic organization of the city. This discovery helps us understand not just the religious and political dimensions of Maya civilization, but also the everyday commercial life that sustained these great cities. People bought and sold goods here. Merchants bargained with customers. Families conducted business in the marketplace. These spaces breathe life into the dry historical record. The significance of El Yasal extends beyond the structures themselves. The site was discovered through collaboration between international researchers, local Mexican authorities, and the Balamku Biosphere Reserve. This partnership is itself part of a larger initiative called the Great Maya Forest Biocultural Corridor, established in 2025 to connect protected landscapes across Mexico, Guatemala, and Belize. Professor Sprajc noted that while El Yasal is a large site, it had only been visited briefly by a few researchers before this comprehensive investigation. This suggests that countless other important archaeological sites remain hidden beneath the forest canopy, waiting to be discovered and studied. The dense tropical forests that cover much of the Yucatan Peninsula and surrounding regions are essentially museums of human history, preserving structures and artifacts that have been protected from erosion and looting by the very wilderness that has made them difficult to access. But the discoveries in Mexico extend beyond ancient Maya cities in the distant past. In June 2026, archaeologists working in the eastern state of Veracruz made a discovery that baffled experts and expanded our understanding of cultural diversity in pre-Columbian Mexico. They unearthed ancient ruins with signs of Mayan culture, but also characteristics that had never been documented before. The site, located in Coatepec near Mexico's east coast, was remarkable because it was positioned well beyond the Maya's primary ancient territory on the Yucatan Peninsula during the Classic period, which lasted from approximately 250 to 900 AD. Yet the artifacts and architectural features at the site were reminiscent of Maya culture. The most striking feature of this discovery was a circular stone platform unlike any other that had been unearthed in that part of Mexico. Researchers described the find as unprecedented and unique. The structures included massive stone platforms, unusual stele, and ritualistic offerings such as charred corn. When President Claudia Sheinbaum was informed of the discovery, she called it very relevant and announced that her government would allocate resources for the investigation and restoration of the site. The discovery raised important questions about the extent of Maya influence, the nature of cultural exchange in pre-Columbian Mesoamerica, and the possibility that we have significantly underestimated the geographical reach of major civilizations. As recent as July 2026, another remarkable discovery emerged from construction work in Mexico. This time, archaeologists performing salvage work ahead of the construction of Mexico's new Mexico City Querétaro passenger railway made a gruesome but scientifically invaluable discovery. Just a few meters below the surface, near the ancient Toltec capital of Tula, known in Nahuatl as Tollan, they found a small ritual altar called a mamazli. These altars were traditionally places where offerings were left by the community to deities or ancestors. But this particular altar, tentatively dated to the Tollan phase between 950 and 1100 AD, contained something that immediately caught the attention of researchers: human skulls. As excavations continued, the scale and significance of the find became increasingly clear. 4 skulls emerged around the altar, arranged deliberately and strategically. One of these skulls was still attached to several neck vertebrae, which prompted researchers to investigate whether the individual had been decapitated. The positioning suggested something remarkable and disturbing. Normally, if a head became separated from a body naturally after burial, it would only detach after the soft tissues holding it to the neck had decayed over time. But this skull appeared to have been removed while those tissues were still intact, suggesting it was deliberately severed from the body. Archaeologist Victor Francisco Heredia Guillen from the National Institute of Anthropology and History noted that researchers would examine the bones for cut marks that would indicate ritual decapitation. The altar itself was constructed with remarkable precision. It measured roughly 1 meter square, consisting of 3 distinct layers. The base was made from quarried stone, possibly andesite, a type of volcanic rock. The middle layer consisted of modular blocks hewn from the same stone, demonstrating sophisticated stone-working techniques. The top layer was composed of river stones and basalt. 2 skulls were positioned at the base of the altar, one facing upward and the other facing to the southwest. The remaining 2 skulls, along with what appeared to be several human femurs and other artifacts, were uncovered from beneath a compacted layer of stucco in front of the altar. Beyond the human remains, the team also discovered an assortment of obsidian blades and ceramic vessels, items that would have been valuable and meaningful in Toltec society. The context surrounding the altar provided additional crucial information. Researchers uncovered walls and floors suggesting that the altar once stood in the center of a courtyard, possibly within an elite residence or administrative complex. This wasn't a location accessible to common people. Based on the architectural evidence, Victor Francisco Heredia Guillen suggested that the site represented either elite residential quarters or administrative buildings, possibly remains of palaces that existed on the site. He noted that at the outskirts of Tula, there were neighborhoods of the upper and middle classes, with the dwellings of common people located much further away. This discovery, therefore, provides a window into the religious practices and beliefs of the Toltec elite, a class of people who wielded significant power and influence over their society. The Toltec civilization, which flourished after the decline of the metropolis Teotihuacan to the southeast and before the rise of the Aztec Empire, was remembered in later times for its remarkable achievements in architecture, religion, and art. The Aztecs, centuries later, revered the Toltecs as legendary builders and craftsmen. This ritual altar, with its evidence of human sacrifice, reveals one dimension of Toltec religious practice. It suggests that ceremonial sacrifice was part of their spiritual worldview, performed perhaps to honor the gods, to mark important events, or to maintain cosmic balance. The obsidian blades discovered at the site provide a chilling practical detail. In the post-classic period, even as metals were being worked by skilled artisans, decapitations were still performed with obsidian or flint knives, which left distinctive cut marks on bone. Earlier, in March 2026, another remarkable find had captured the attention of the archaeological world. Deep within a flooded cave system on Mexico's Caribbean coast, a team of cave diving archaeologists made a discovery that offered rare insights into the funerary practices of people who lived long before the Maya. The remains found were an 8,000-year-old skeleton discovered in the network of sinkholes known as cenotes. The cave system had flooded at the end of the last ice age around 8,000 years ago as sea levels rose across the globe. This means the individual must have been placed in the cave while it was still dry, making the remains at least that ancient and perhaps older. The fact that someone had gone to such effort to place these remains deep within a cave system, in a location that would later become inaccessible as water levels rose, speaks volumes about the cultural and spiritual beliefs of these ancient people. The act of burial itself was a remarkable feat of dedication. Today, only expert divers equipped with specialist gear can access and work in those passages. Imagine the effort and skill required for ancient people, without modern equipment or understanding of underwater physics, to place someone in that location. The preservation of the skeleton was extraordinary, a testament to the unique and stable conditions within the cenotes that have turned them into invaluable archaeological time capsules. These flooded caves maintain constant temperature and humidity, creating perfect conditions for preserving organic remains for thousands of years. This discovery was the 11th of its kind in the region's intricate network of cenotes. Each skeleton found in these flooded caves adds another piece to the puzzle of early human settlement and cultural practices in the Americas. The ancient peoples of Mexico and Central America had developed sophisticated beliefs about death, burial, and the afterlife. They invested tremendous effort in honoring their dead, creating funerary practices that speak to emotional bonds between family members and spiritual beliefs about what happened after death. When we step back and look at all these discoveries collectively, a remarkable picture emerges. We now have compelling evidence that humans arrived in the Americas not 13,000 years ago, but perhaps as much as 23,000 to 30,000 years ago. We have footprints literally preserved in ancient sediments. We have stone tools recovered from stratified archaeological layers. We have independent dating confirmations from multiple laboratories using different methodologies. And crucially, we have evidence of increasingly sophisticated societies over thousands of years, demonstrating that humans didn't simply survive in the Americas, but thrived, developed complex religions, built monumental architecture, organized themselves into cities, and created riqueza. Cultural traditions. The implications of these discoveries are profound. If humans were in the Americas 30,000 years ago, then they must have arrived, using different routes than previously theorized. The standard model involved migration across the Bering Land Bridge during times when the ice sheets retreated, opening a corridor for movement. But if people were here 30,000 years ago, the ice sheets would have been present blocking such a corridor. This suggests either that coastal migration routes played a crucial role that we previously underestimated, or that humans possessed maritime capabilities far earlier than we believed. Recent discoveries of submerged archaeological sites off the coasts of California and other locations suggest that early Americans may have been seafaring people who followed de-coastal routes, using boats to island hop along the Pacific coastline and gradually moving southward along the Americas over thousands of years. This radically different understanding of early American history forces us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about human capabilities and behavior. It suggests that our ancestors were more adaptable, more resourceful, and more innovative than we gave them credit for. They found ways to survive and eventually thrive in environments ranging from high mountains to tropical forests to arid deserts. They developed sophisticated belief systems, created beautiful art, built impressive architectural monuments, and organized complex societies with distinct social classes and specialized occupations. The discoveries in Mexico in 2026 represent just the beginning of what promises to be a complete rewriting of American prehistory. As technology improves, as more sites are excavated, as LiDAR surveys reveal more hidden cities beneath forest canopy, as DNA analysis provides new insights into ancient populations and their migrations, we will continue to refine and revise our understanding. The academic debate will continue. Some findings will be confirmed. Others may require revision as new evidence emerges. But the fundamental shift has already occurred. The timeline of human settlement in the Americas has been pushed back by thousands of years, and we must now work to understand how our ancestors achieved such remarkable feats of adaptation and culture, all development in such an ancient world. Mexico, with its rich archaeological heritage, diverse ecosystems ranging from deserts to jungles, and sites from multiple civilizations spanning thousands of years, stands as a crucial key to unlocking the mysteries of early American history. The discoveries we've discussed, From Chiquihue Cave to White Sands to El Yasal to the ritual altar in Tula to the ancient skeletons in the cenotes, represent just a fraction of what lies hidden beneath Mexico's soil and forest canopy. Every excavation adds new data points to our growing understanding. Every artifact recovered tells part of the story, and every discovery brings us closer to a complete and accurate picture of human history in the Americas. As we look to the future, archaeologists and researchers are optimistic about what else might be discovered. New technologies like LIDAR are revealing the extent of pre-Columbian settlements, showing that the landscape was far more populated and developed than we previously imagined. In the Amazon, LIDAR surveys have revealed evidence of vast pre-colonial civilizations, with more than 20,000 monumental earthworks hidden beneath the rainforest canopy. Similar technologies applied to other regions of Mexico and Central America will undoubtedly reveal additional sites. Each new discovery will force us to revise our timelines, expand our understanding, and appreciate more deeply the achievements of the people who came before us. The story of human origins in the Americas is not finished. It is still being written, one discovery at a time. And Mexico, with its ancient secrets and archaeological wonders, continues to reveal chapters of this extraordinary story that will forever change how we understand our own past and the remarkable achievements of our ancestors.